I wasn't really expecting to be talking about Dragon Age, but here we are. The gift that keeps on giving. And the people who are fans of this garbage are not a gift, but they keep on giving, though.
So, if you guys are not aware, Dragon Age the Veilguard is a video game that came out and flopped massively, was the butt of every single joke for months on end. But at
Beautiful.
the end of the day, gaming journalists are requiring people to apparently now apologize to the writers after the backlash that Veilguard got. And they're even trying to go as far as to create the narrative and lie and essentially try to make it seem as if Dragon
Oh, heavens! A bunch of woke lunatics creating a narrative out of thin air and lying about things? Ha! I never expected this to happen. Wow!
Dragon Age fans are actually doing just that because everybody apparently is apologizing to not only the writers on Dragon Age the Veilguard, but apologize
I'm sorry, stupid trans Dragon Age writers, that you suck at your job. I'm sorry. No, I'm not.
to the former director, Corin Bush, the guy who actually ruined the entire franchise with the rest of his team because they were so mismanaged and they didn't know what the hell they were doing. I found this story to be absolutely insane and hilarious at the same time, and I want to share it with you. So before we get into the video, special shout out to the 90,100 of you that is this
Like
video
the
through
video and
comedy of
subscribe.
an article written by someone who has run damage control for Dragon Age the Veilguard on the website The Gamer.
Dude, honestly, look at this. I mean, you can just tell from the names. Rhiannon Bevan. That that shit's going down, okay?
The website The Gamer multiple times since the game has come out. So it says Dragon Age the Veilguard launch must have been a turbulent time for BioWare. Gee, I wonder why they would say something like that. Reviews were great across the
Who
board. And by
knows?
reviews, they mean all of the shill access media, who, by the way, the ones who gave Dragon Age the Veilguard a 9, a 9.5, a 10.
Yeah, this is why we need classical media, because they're always gonna call things like this a 9 out of 10 return to form, and you know it's BS, and you know it's bad, and you know you should avoid it.
Were the same people that gave Stellar Blade a 6, a 7. You know, they were giving all these games, Black Myth Wukong, a 7, an 8, a 6 sometimes.
As Alana Brain Damage Lying Pierce would say, that's just normal because they're not triple A games, so they have less things in their games, so it just makes sense that they're just a highest a 6 or a 7 because everything higher is supposed to go through the triple A developers because they have more things in their games and they're better games because of it. God, I need to check if everyone's favorite Gunner Queen Alana Pierce has any new videos up. I mean, she is just listen. If I was her dad, I would Minecraft out pretty fast. I'm not gonna lie.
They were giving Black Myth Wukong and all these other video games that were against their narrative terrible scores, but they gave Dragon Age Veilguard damn near almost a 10 out of 10.
Black Myth Wukong wasn't even against their narrative. It was just the game.
And everybody saw that coming. And the hilarious thing on top of that is a lot of them walked back their reviews. IGN, just a couple of months later, walked back their review on Dragon Age the Veilguard after they gave it like a 9.5 or whatever, or a 9 out of 10. They walked it back because they had to admit that
Bro.
the game was nowhere near what a Dragon Age game.
And by the way, there are so many YouTuber shills also that have done effectively the same. New complete garbage tier, pretty much woke infused game comes out. All your typical shill-ups are like, this is the best thing ever. Or, maybe we have a Matty style of approach of, this game is not fun, but I like it anyway. The story is bad, but that's a good thing somehow. The game is 5 minutes long, but that's a good thing, so buy it anyway. Maybe you get a review like that. Maybe you have a classic Luke Steffens take of, the game's great, and after two weeks, he's like, haha, yeah, the game's shit. I always knew that. It's also tiring at the end of the day, honestly. Why is it so hard to just be honest? Why is it so hard?
Should have been. But in any case, reviews were supposedly
And by the way, you know what's my favorite part about all the shells? This is one thing that never fails to amaze me. It's when the shills try to tell you, I'm not a shill. I have no idea why I'm called a shill. And d- no one ever calls me a shill. Unless there's some kind of activist in there, like, oh, you're just shilling being against making children into different things. Yeah, indeed I am, I guess. And, things like that. That's the only thing. But those typical shills, there's only a few of them. There's only this small handful of people who get called shills, and they're like, "Oh no, I don't understand why I'm getting called a shill." It's glorious.
great across the board, as Dragon Age: The Veilguard proved to be much more stable than any recent game from the studio, and a whole lot of fun to play, said nobody ever, by the way.
Yep.
The game was unbelievably boring. I had the same skills using I was using three skills throughout the entirety of the game. My build ended up being a stun lock build where even some bosses were unable to fight me back for a majority of the time because I was able to stun lock them so easily with my character. It was one of the most basic combat systems I've ever experienced, and it was extremely boring no matter how late into the end game you got. When
It
I initially
always
played the
is.
game, I thought to myself, gee, maybe it'll get better as time goes on. Nope. Just like Avowed, it became the same three skills for the entirety of the game. But I digress anyway. So Veilguard proved to be much more stable and recent than any recent game from the studio, and a whole lot of fun to play. However, when it got into the hands
Do they still mean stable as in less bugs?
of longtime fans, they were quick to notice that the game's tone was very different from previous entries, getting rid of the bite that many of us loved. That's not even to get into some of the comments. Here's the fun part that went beyond any actual critique of the game, as some attacked the Veilguard for
Oh
having
no.
LGBTQ characters, something it has had from the
Why would you attack a game for having something in it? That's crazy. Well, these opinions, I swear.
beginning of the first game and has only expanded upon in sequels. To put simply, it must have sucked to work on the game, as there were many who took their
LOL.
criticism way too far, resulting in some higher ups leaving social media. Well, I'm going to get an X to doubt, number one. If I could get an X to doubt from people who are watching this video, I would greatly appreciate it. Number two, there was legit criticism for this game pretty much everywhere. And people like this journalist, this Uralist, was basically ignoring all of the criticism that was being levied at the game, especially if it was coming from people that they deemed right wing chuds, right? Because as long
God
as they're the
damn
ones
them.
that are assuming, I think it's pretty safe to say that they always view themselves to be right. But in any case, nowadays, after an explosive report from Bloomberg claimed that EA was the cause of the Veilguard's development woes, no, it was not. Okay? No, it was not. It was EA and it was BioWare together. Stop trying to do this absolute garbage where you are trying to remove all blame from the developers of Dragon Age: The Veilguard because half of them happen to be non-binary. Please miss me with this bullshit. We all know it's not true. You are responsible for the people that you have under you. And Corin Bush had an entire team under them, and they decided that it was in their best interest to try to make this into an ideology game. Sure,
Exactly. I I talked about this so much. Everyone is just slopping up this idea. Oh, it's actually EA that made this bad. No, EA has absolutely no idea what the story of not BioWare, but what the story of Dragon Age Veilguard was even supposed to be. They have absolutely no clue. They didn't give a shit. They had no idea how the skill trees look. They had no idea how the combat works or any of this. Yeah, EA said you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, you're gonna make this a live experience or blah blah blah. So what? EA did not ruin all of the systems. That's the developers. I'm so tired of people not understanding these things.
shortly after failing to make it into a live service game. There probably was a little back and forth between EA and BioWare, but at the end of the day, you developed the game. You had people working on the game. You were responsible for what they did every single day. It wasn't EA, it was you at BioWare. So let's stop trying to take away blame from them. But in any case,
It's okay, though. Cory Bush can go and work at Wizards of the Coast Baldur's Gate 4. Oh, there's still a good chance that actually happens, huh? Wow, that is sad.
some fans have changed their tune. Nobody has changed. Like literally nobody has changed their tune.
True.
What the gamer does is they take one or two posts from Reddit and they create an entire narrative around it and they try to say everybody's apologizing to the writers now.
Listen, listen. Even Carl Jobst used Reddit less as a source than these idiots. Okay. Now, admittedly, he still used Reddit as a source, which makes him a moron. But I even he didn't even he only quoted one source from Reddit.
Look, they say Reddit user DJ Reyes 1995 kicked things off, apologizing to some of those who worked on the Veilguard. And many fans agree and echo similar sentiments. Who? Who
Yeah,
does
who?
that? Number one, I guarantee you that DJ Reyes is probably an alternate account for one of these journalists trying to fake a story. I would almost guarantee that. I would put money on that. That they would go into Reddit, they will make up some
It's probably a main account. Making an alt account for something like this is way too time consuming.
bullshit, and then they will write an entire article about it and say, look, fans are apologizing. Fans are apologizing to the writers on Veilguard. Dragon Age fans apologize after new report pins the blame for Veilguard's shortcomings on EA. Nobody's apologizing.
Nobody's
Who?
doing that. No
I've
one
been very
cares.
critical of the Veilguard and its tone, writing, and lack of continuity.
I have covered this shit like 2 or 3 times already. No one in the comment section is even close to apologizing for anything.
Ever since its release, says DJ Reyes. I tended to put the blame on the Trinity, which was John Epler, Corin Bush, and the lead writer Trick Weeks for the game's tone and writing, and thus its failure. I assume that nobody cares about my thoughts. Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge that me constantly blaming the Trinity pushed the idea that they were either the sole
The Trinity. Holy shit, are we the Matrix or something?
reason or one of the major reasons for the game's failure and the death of the franchise. They continue, but now I can safely assume, keyword assume, by the way, that they tried their best with a bad deck of cards. Yes, they tried their best. Absolutely. They tried their best. You want to know how they tried their best? They made sure that when developing this game, that they did
This is all just so tiring, honestly, isn't it?
everything they possibly could to ensure that you felt
The non-stop lies, the non-stop gaslighting. This is why these people lose. This is why no one takes these people seriously. Because why the hell would you, honestly, after all of this?
really bad about misgendering someone, because that was very important to ensuring that gamers got a true Dragon Age experience. They made sure that they put a cutscene fully animated, fully voice acted. They put a cutscene in the
Do a
game where it
bond.
was so fucking awkward. It was almost like a teenager coming out for the first time, where Tosh decides to sit down in front of her mother, who is talking to the player, and awkwardly sits in silence and then
I'm
says,
not
well,
binary!
I'm non-binary. Like, yep, that was very, very necessary. And clearly they were
And people took that personally and said, "True, Dragon Age the Veilguard, I am non-binary also, so I don't buy your slop."
working with a bad deck of cards, and they had to make sure that that extremely necessary scene made it into the game. Gee, wow. They definitely took away all blame from them. Many others agree blaming Bush for any of that never made any sense, says Exile 2. He came in to salvage an already sinking ship. Anyone that was blaming him at any point
Didn't salvage shit. Also, literally, Tosh is a self-insert of this person. The whole Tosh storyline is just a fucking trauma dump. So don't give me these lies about came in to salvage a sinking whatever. No! That's lies.
was uninformed. As I covered in a previous, oh, is that going to be it? Is that going to be it? Is that literally going to be the only two things? Let's see. It seems that many are realizing this now, as one of the most upvoted posts in Dragon Age subreddit is titled Corin Bush saved Veilguard from a far worse fate, and we owe him an apology, from Captain COO4. Of course, it
Well, the people on the Reddit are literally insane.
should not have got to the point where so many in the community jumped to conclusions. There is zero excuses for who were being bigoted. Not that I'm seeing any of them.
Yes. The people who made the game are not responsible for making the game? Okay. Then who's responsible for making... Am I responsible? Did I make it? Oh, bro, I made Dragon Age Veilguard. Oh, bro.
Apologize, and we won't.
I mean, since the developers didn't make the game, someone had to. Might as well be me.
By the way, we won't. By the way, we can only hope that everyone involved lands on their feet somewhere else and doesn't get as messed around as they were at Bioware. Are you going to put any proof?
No.
No proof.
Why would you bother, honestly?
No proof. Wait. So you talk about, oh my God. So you talk about one of the highest like upvoted subreddits from this person, and you don't post.
Actually, we can check that. Dragon Age Veilguard Reddit. Does a post like that exist even? How do I sort? I have no idea. How do I sort? Oh, card best hot new top. Let's see the top posts, okay? Let's see. There's someone gooning about Lucian. Nope, not seeing it. Top rising to... Oh, wait. Top, it was just today. Okay, it was just today. Let's make this month. Okay? Happy Pride Month, Heroes of Veilguard. And it's just a bunch of gay stuff. More gay stuff. More furry stuff. More stuff, and I don't think that's a real post. I can't see it. Yeah, I'm literally not seeing anything. Maybe I'm in the wrong Reddit. Who wants? Who knows, right? Maybe I'm in the wrong Reddit, but I don't know about you, but I'm not seeing this. Yep. I'm 9 days old posts and 10 days old posts at this point, and nothing. No, there's nothing about this. Oh Jesus, how ugly all of those characters are. Holy. But yeah, so this is fake, it looks like. It's not actually even real. I mean, I didn't expect anything else, to be completely honest. Anyway, that was Hypnotic, 10 out of 10. Bye!